Hey guys, this is Miss Cat, and last time we created a timer that counts up, so if I press play here, we'll see it count up. And today we're going to be talking about how to create a timer that counts down. And so instead of just doing the same thing where it just shows the number on the screen, today we're going to be going over how to create a slider that starts slowing down or getting smaller as time goes on. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to get rid of this timer. I'm just going to unclick it so I don't have to view it. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and under Canvas, which by now you should have made Canvas. If you haven't, once again, right click over here, UI, Canvas. It'll pop this up. Make sure that your screen mode is screen space overlay and you're scaling with screen size. This is going to be the last video I'm going to tell you to do this because you should have watched at least one of these by now. All right. So under here, I'm going to hit Canvas. I'm going to go to UI. I'm going to create a slider. So as you can see here, a slider, I can size it up if I want really quick. A slider has a few pieces to it. We've got our basic slider, which holds everything. Our background, which is this right here. Our fill area with our fill, and then our handle. So right off the bat, we do not need this little circular handle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to hit delete. So I don't need the handle. Now we can see the fill area a little bit better. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to change my fill color to, let's see. Let's go into like a blue so that we can at least kind of see it while we're working. Or like an orange. Orange is kind of fun. We'll go with orange. So now I've got this into orange and you can kind of see that. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that under slider, we have all of these different things, but at the bottom we have this thing called value. And so value tells us, how complete it is and how not. So if you notice right off the bat, even at 100%, wait a second. Sorry about that. Even at 100%, it doesn't quite go all the way to the end. And that has to do with kind of how the fill area and the background and everything is set up. So we're going to come into these. We're going to look at our rectangle transformation and all these. And we're going to make sure that this is set to 0. My right is set to 0. And then I want my fill, my left, I want to set that to 0. Under my rect transformation, set my right to 0. So now when I go into my slider, and I know that was fast, you can go back and stop and go through them. It's just under my fill and my fill area and my fill. But under my slider, now if I go and I change my value, it goes all the way down, it comes all the way up, which is what I want, right? Because I want to be able to actually have it slide all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new script for this. I'm going to do create C# script. And I'm going to call this one countdown. You can call it whatever you want. I just call it countdown because I already have a timer on there. It looks like I already called something that before, so I'm going to delete this one and make a new one. I'm going to do create C#. Maybe give it a second. There we go. I'm going to call this. It's just giving me a hassle. I'm going to delete that one too. I'm going to try one more time to create a new one. This shouldn't take too long. So I'm going to right click, give it a minute. There we go. Create C# script. And let's time down. So that way it's not the same. I already had a countdown apparently that I've scripted before. So I'm going to do a time down. And so let's go ahead and get into our time down, or if you've already called it countdown, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Mine just didn't want to work that way. And so with that, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to double click. And let's go through this. Once again, the first thing we're going to do, because we're using our canvas, our UI, is I'm going to put in using Unity Engine.UI up at the top. That means that I have access to all the UI elements in it and that would fall under the canvas, like images, slider, text, and buttons. And there's many more than that. I'm just naming off a few. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a public slider. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to say CD slider. So CD for countdown and slider. Then I'm going to do a public float time remaining. And I'm just going to capitalize that R. Then I'm going to do a public float timer max. All right. So I just like to make them public. You can make some of these private. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my start. I'm going to make sure whenever my game starts right off the bat that my time remaining equals my time max. Just because I want to make sure that my player has full time. You don't necessarily have to do that. If you want to be able to give your character or your player the ability to actually gain more time than they start with, that's perfectly fine. But this is just how I want to set mine up to get it started to where my players are already at max time when the game starts and it just starts counting down on them. So under update, we're going to go ahead and make some new stuff. So I'm going to say CD, so CD slider dot value is equal to time remaining divided by time max. And so right off the bat, my time remaining divided by time max is going to be 1. So it'd give me a value of 1, right? And so our value scale can only go up to 1. So this instead divides it to say, okay, how much below our max time are we in getting that percentage? All right, so from here I'm going to say if time remaining, remaining is greater than 0. This is where we're going to start ticking time off of our timer. Oh, let me get rid of that R so it'll be correct. So time remaining. So I'm going to say time remaining minus equals time dot delta. Oh, nope, I just want time. There we go, time dot delta time. And I'm going to tell you off the bat, time dot delta time is just a really confusing concept. It's just taking time off, one millisecond at a time, 1 second at a time, until it gets you whatever it needs. So this is just time dot delta time is something you're going to have to use. It's and learn. It's okay. I know it's kind of confusing there. And so that is basically all we need to do to get our CD slider value going, right? So I'm going to press Command S, and so this checks for the value, and as long as it's greater than 0, we're going to start taking it away. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lower that down. I'm going to attach this to player because I'm also going to show you how to create a pickup to give you extra time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add this to my player. If you don't want to do that and you just want to show that time is ticking away, you can always just add it to your canvas. It wouldn't make a difference there. But since I have plans that I'm going to show you guys how to actually create a pickup that'll add to your time, again, to give you a little extra, I'm just going to put it on him. And so I'm going to grab my slider and I'm going to actually rename this first. I'm going to call this count down. I'm going to call it countdown. Go back to my player and I'm going to throw countdown on here. And I'm going to set my max to 10 seconds. And so when we press play now, my timer should start counting down from 10 seconds. And when I get to 10 seconds, time's up. Nothing's going to happen, but my bar should be at completely 0. So let's go ahead and press play and see if this works. So as we see, our time starts ticking away, going. And in about 10 seconds, it will be completely gone. So now that we've done that, let's talk about how to add a pickup. And so if this is all you needed, you're good to go. You're already ready. Once again, how to get things to stop when time is done or to make a game be lost, I'll show you guys that later. We're just focusing on how to actually add in the UI and get a countdown working. So now if we want to move on, I'm going to show you guys how to add a little extra time to your time remaining with a pickup. So if you didn't go over pickups yet, it's good too. We're going to go ahead and talk about prefabs again. So prefabs are what we have over here that in blue. So prefabs are things that we create that we want to use over and over and over again. So instead of just having to reapply everything on there, like I put a box collider that's a trigger for this guy, and I already have a tag on him, I just go ahead and I pull him down here and it creates a prefab, and I can just keep throwing him in the game as many times as I need. So it works really well if you have a lot of enemies that you need to implement in each level, pickups, anything like that, so that way you're not making 5 million of them over and over and over again. So I'm going to go back to assets. I already have a sprite that I'm just going to use. So it's called life. I was originally going to use it as like a life thing. I don't really care to do that though. So I'm just going to use it as my pickup to get extra time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab it. I'm going to throw it in here, and it's a little big, so I'm just going to size it down. And once it's in here, I'm going to name it instead extra time. You don't have to name yours anything like this. I just wanted to because I didn't want to be called life. I think that's just going to get confusing for me. So I'm going to call this extra time. I'm going to go ahead and add a component, and since mine is circular, I'm going to add a circle collider 2D. If yours is box shape, you can add a box, whatever you need, capsule collider. I just wanted to add a circle because mine, in fact, is a circle. And I'm going to go ahead and put this to is trigger. Next, I'm going to make a new tag for this. Since this isn't a pickup to necessarily go into my pickups up here, it's a pickup to give me extra time, I'm going to create a new tag. So that way when I use it, it doesn't go to that. And I'm going to call this extra time. And remember, however you put the tag in there, when we go and we start adding our on trigger enter, right? It needs to be the exact same spelling, capitals, everything. So I've got my extra time up here. Let's go back into scripts. I should have it. So time down, I already have my script, and now I'm just going to add to it. So for anyone who's going to have pickups that just keep adding to your time, this is great for you. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to go ahead and hit, actually first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say void on trigger enter 2D. On trigger enter 2D. If yours doesn't automatically pop that up, you can pause this and type this in exactly as it is. Mine automatically fills it in, so I don't worry too much about it. So I'm going to do that on trigger enter 2D, and this is where it's very similar to our other pickup script. So I'm going to say if collision.gameObject.tag equals, and remember you had to spell the exact same extra time. Then I want something to happen. So if that equals extra time, I'll double check that over there later. But if that equals extra time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say time remaining and I'm going to do plus equals 5 or 5. And so plus equals 5 just says we're going to take our time remaining and we're going to add 5 to it. So don't be fooled. This isn't actually equaling 5. It means that we're going to add 5 to our time remaining. So then after that, once again, like we did with our other pickup, I don't want to keep being able to grab that for extra time. So I'm going to go ahead and type in destroy destroy collision dot game object. So this is going to go ahead and destroy that game object. And the next thing I really want to make sure is that I don't exceed my timer max, because that would also create a problem, right? So I've got this to give me extra time, and let's say, you know, I'm at 10 right now. Well, if my time remaining, if it's at a 9 and I hit one of these and it goes over 10, and you can always replace this 5 with a variable integer that you can change, or a float that you can change. But right now I'm just leaving it as a 5. But if it goes over my max time, I'm going to have a problem. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in an if statement under my update that says if time remaining is greater than max, or timer max, time remaining equals time max. And so what that says is if my time is like 16 and it's way bigger than my timer max, if I set it to 10, I'm automatically going to set my time remaining to 10, or to the max. So instead of having 16, it'll automatically set it to its max, which is 10. And that kind of gets rid of that problem. I'm going to press Command S on that. And I have the ball in there. I think that's all good. Let's double check that everything's good for our player. Check everything. Time remaining. Doesn't matter. I already have it resetting in my code. If I didn't, I would come in here and manually have to put it in. But I have it already in there. So I'm going to go ahead and just press play. Wait for this timer to go down a little bit, and then I'm going to check it. Oh, yep, it keeps adding. So I'm going to change this to maybe like 20 so I can see a little bit more of the difference in there. And the next thing I want to do is, once again, I can turn this into a prefab. So especially if you're going to have a lot of these extra times in here, I'm going to go ahead and just click on this extra time and drag it down here. So that way I have an extra time that I can just add in different sections. So I'm just going to put one up there just so we can see that it automatically already has everything on there. So as my time starts going down and down and down, I'm just waiting for it to whittle away so I can show you. It only adds 5. It doesn't completely go up all the way. All right, it's adding to my time so that way I can make it farther in my level. I know a few of you needed that extra little thing on there. A few of you just wanted a slider bar. So I figured, hey, make everyone happy in one video. So that is it for this video. My time has run out, as you can see on my screen. So I'll talk to you guys in class when I see you. Have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.